Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Virginia Virtual Farm to Table program. My name is Lena Wen, and I'm the 4-H Extension Agent for Fauquier County. The purpose of this program is to highlight Virginia-grown produce and livestock that are raised on farms across the Commonwealth and demonstrate how to create a delicious and nutritious meal with a highlighted ingredient. This educational program will highlight Virginia agriculture, community nutrition, and farm-to-table connections, and is brought to you by Virginia Cooperative Extension. Virginia Cooperative Extension is an educational outreach program of Virginia's land-grant universities, Virginia Tech, and Virginia State University. VCE's educational programs are delivered through a network of faculty at these two universities, 108 county and city offices, 11 agricultural research and extension centers, and 6 4-H educational centers. So I encourage all of you to participate in your local Virginia Cooperative Extension programs to learn more if you have not already. And in today's session, we're going to be focusing on peanuts. We're going to start with Livy Pricer, who's an Agriculture and Natural Resources Extension Agent in Isle of Wight County, and she's going to tell us all about growing peanuts. Then Katie Strong, who's a Family and Consumer Sciences Extension Agent in Fairfax County, is going to tell us about incorporating peanuts into the diet, and she's going to share a delicious peanut stew recipe. I'm going to serve as our Q&A monitor, so if you have any questions, you can go ahead and type those into the Q&A box as they come to mind, and we'll try to get to as many of those as possible at the end of the session. And I'll go ahead and pass it off to Livy.
Lena. Like Lena said, I'm Livy Pricer. I'm the Isle of Wight County Extension Agent here in Isle of Wight. And my first slide is just a picture of peanuts. The question I get a lot when I go into the classroom is, do peanuts grow in the ground or do they grow on trees? Peanuts do grow in the ground. And these are peanuts on the vine right here, just a great picture. Lena, next slide, please. And I wanted to start off with the history of peanuts because it's very important and it really traces back to Virginia, and it's very important to touch on that because the peanut heritage in Virginia is so rich. So peanuts can be traced back to 950 BC to Brazil or Peru. Spanish explorers took peanuts back to Spain, and then the trade took peanuts to Africa and Asia. And then the slave trade introduced peanuts to the New World, and then they were planted here in the United States. And in the 1700s, botanists discovered peanuts were good pig feed, so they were fed a lot to pigs, and they were also an inexpensive food source, so a lot of folks bought them as very inexpensive food. The first commercial crop can be traced back to Sussex County in about the 1840s, and then in 1860, the peanut production rose in Southeast Virginia due to the cotton decline from the boll weevil. And this is just a picture of an old horse-drawn digger right here in the top. And then this is one of our road signs that shows where the first peanut crop was. And then in 1880, Virginia became a key supplier for markets, and in 1900, equipment was starting to be invented. Dr. George Washington Carver was studying and found over 300 uses for peanuts. And then in 1902, Southeast Virginia housed most of the peanut factories, and we still do today. Benjamin Hicks from Southampton County invented a stemming and cleaning machine powered by gas, and again, he's noted on one of the road signs. And then in 1913, Amadei Obasi from Suffolk founded Planters Nut and Chocolate Company, which is now known today as Planters Peanuts. And the Obasi family and foundation still has lots of community ties in Suffolk. They have the Suffolk Obasi Hospital and Foundation, and they're still very active within the local community. So in 1902, 14 of 20 U.S. peanut companies were located in Suffolk, Virginia. Currently, the Virginia peanut industry is thriving in Southeast Virginia because of our climate and soil is ideal here. We have loose and sandy soil, and peanuts can be grown and are grown in 8 counties: Southampton, Sussex, Surrey, Suffolk, Isle of Wight, Greensville, Dinwiddie, and Prince George, and they are the teal counties over here to the right on the Virginia map. And most farms currently that grow peanuts have contracts with processors. We have over 20 in Virginia, and currently peanuts rank 19th in commodity sales with over 15 million in cash receipts. 26,000 acres were grown in Virginia in 2017. And we have several different types of peanuts that we grow here in Virginia. And the Virginia type peanut is one of the most popular. And in the video later, you're going to hear more about the runner type peanuts. But the Virginia type peanuts are very popular because they have excellent flavor. They have large pods and elongated seeds. You probably have eaten Virginia type peanuts and not known it. If you've been to a ballpark, they're the ones that are often found in shell at baseball games. They're also the ones found in cocktail peanuts and used a lot in culinary, which Katie will touch on later with her peanut soup. Often found in lots of pies and used in lots of oil and paste markets. In these pictures, the top right is actually them harvesting peanuts, and then just a farmer holding peanuts here at the bottom. And again, the Virginia type peanut has been around for a while. We've had several different breeding programs here in Virginia. We do have a peanut specialist with the Tidewater Agriculture Research and Extension Center, Maria Belota. She's done a lot with some of these varieties, and she does great research. She's a great resource for our farmers here. And she has been an excellent help for them with weed diseases, insect identification, and actual just breeding program research. And here are some pictures of harvesting equipment. Like I was telling Lena earlier, it's very unique. The picture to the left is actually a peanut digger, and the picture to the right is a peanut combine, and we have 2 short videos of both. And we will be harvesting hopefully in the next few weeks here in Southeast Virginia. So if you're driving by, you probably will be smelling peanuts and seeing this happen. So first, we're going to start off with them digging peanuts, and then we're going to see a video of them actually harvesting peanuts. So on those 2 videos, the first one was them digging peanuts, and they will go through and dig all of the peanuts, and then they will sit and dry in the sunlight for 3 to 4 days, and then they'll come back and harvest those peanuts with those peanut combines. And now for our video for producer, we talked to Greenfield Farms, Thomas Butler. Greenfield Farms is a multi-generation farm. They grow cotton, peanuts, soybeans, corn, and raise beef cattle. They're active community members. They serve on multiple boards. Thomas and his mother are avid 4-H supporters. They're very active in our extension office. And Thomas's dad serves on community electric board and the farm bureau board, as well as Thomas. So they are very active in the community. In the pictures here, the top right is the Butler family, and the youngest child is actually Thomas's grandfather. So farming is deep in their blood. And then the bottom picture is Thomas. And then we are going to hear from Thomas on the next video about peanut production in Virginia.
Everybody, we're here with Thomas Butler of Greenfield Farms, and we are in one of his peanut fields. So thank you, Thomas, for joining us today and letting us come out. We're trying to beat the rain right now, so we're going to do this fairly quickly. So Thomas, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your farm that you have here?
I've been farming since 1992 with my father and my brother, my younger brother, and 5th generation. My brother and myself raised peanuts, cotton, corn, soybeans. We got 225 head of beef cattle. We've been here since 1900, and we enjoy growing peanuts. We consider ourselves peanut farmers, even though we grow other crops.
Okay, so what type of peanuts do we have here that we're looking at down here?
These are Runnel peanuts. We grow seed for Birdsong Peanut Company, and been doing that for quite a while now. I had to get back in some history books to see how long we've been growing Runnels. But since the peanut program changed, we went to growing Runnels because we have less disease problems.
And what will these runner types be used for?
Oh, they're going in your canned peanuts in the store, in candy bars, peanut butter. They would have to be the larger peanuts. The runner peanuts are smaller than Virginia peanuts. So the larger runner peanut is what's in the can sometimes with Virginia peanuts, but mainly in candy and peanut butter.
And why do what's so special about our soil here that we can grow peanuts so well?
Peanuts grow well here because our soils are well draining. It rained 7.5 inches here yesterday, and where I'm standing, I'm not in mud, but I can get in some mud. But mainly peanuts like to be dry. They're close to the ground, grow under the ground, so they want dry land because they're susceptible to getting soil diseases and fungus, especially when it gets cool. Humidity is a problem with fungicide, fungus getting on the peanut. So our peanut land is usually well drained land. Works well for that.
So we talked a little bit about the fungus issues. Are there any other challenges growing peanuts?
Well, we have pest problems from time to time. We have to, we put out a product to keep the corn, the same worm as the corn earworm, but boring in the peanut hole and damaging the whole, scarring it. We've got a product we're using that might be taken off the market. Hopefully that won't, we won't lose it. But mainly pest is, usually diseases and grass and weeds. We do have to spray for worms, but it's got to be pretty bad to spray for actual, when they're eating on the foliage.
Sure. Now, when are peanuts generally planted, and then when are they harvested?
Most peanuts are planted as early as the last week of April. Most of it's in the first 2 weeks in May, but you can plant later in May. But the ideal time is the first 2 weeks in May, depending on how warm it is in the spring. When we have planted in the last week of April.
And then harvest?
Harvest is anywhere. Last year was as early as September the 15th. This year is looking more like October the 1st, to some people saying October the 15th. So in that window, most of the time, people are getting started by the last week in September.
Okay. Now, can you show us this peanut plant here and kind of just tell us a little bit about it for folks that may not know? And he dug this up already, so we would have it for the...
Right. Of course, peanuts grow under the ground. You can see there's some dirt around the tap root of the peanut. But this is a peanut that's getting pretty mature. It might be getting, see, it's hard to open. I'm pulling the skin off. See how it's starting to get a pink color? That's getting close to maturity, and it's staining the whole inside.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the beginnings of a peanut. That's what you call a peg, and the peanut is starting to form. And it would have been a bloom, which here's a bloom on a peanut right now. It's still blooming. There's a bloom. That's where it starts. Then you form a peg, and the peg goes in the ground and starts to form the peanut, and eventually you get to this. Then we, of course, harvest. That's what we're eating.
Right. Okay. Is there anything else that you want to tell folks about peanuts, or anything that we may have missed while we were talking?
Remember, I saw a fellow farmer in Wakefield said, "Eat more peanuts." Of course, that's a slogan everybody has. They're good to eat, and I enjoy eating them. I know some people have allergies, but we're working on that.
Mm-hmm.
But they give you a lot of protein. They're good for your heart. I mean, there's a lot of research done. Peanuts are really good for you to eat.
Right. You can be like me and give them as Christmas presents. That's what everybody gets for Christmas.
I like to eat them, and most people can't get them like this. Some people like them boiled. I'm not a fan of that. But I like to eat peanuts after we dig them and invert them like this. When we harvest peanuts, they're somewhere in the neighborhood of about 15%, 20% moisture. Somewhere in there, that you can eat a few of them. You eat too many, your stomach might hurt a little bit. But most people call them green. I like to eat them like that, right? As soon as you dry them, get them down to about 9, 10%. I'll eat them like that. You ain't even got to roast them. So they're good to eat and good for you.
Oh, very
Of
good.
course, I'm biased. I'm a peanut farmer. So.
Well, very good. I guess the biggest thing, or one other question we have, is with the crazy weather that we've had this year, what kind of toll has that taken on peanuts?
Well, gonna be later harvesting peanuts because we were later planting peanuts because it was wet, and then it got dry. But the rain came in August, which is peanuts need water in August. They're a very drought tolerant crop, but they need water when they're making, just like corn does or cotton or soybeans. If we don't have a late or early frost could be a problem if we're late. I haven't faced that in my farming career, but my father has. I remember them picking peanuts not far from here in the dark one night because the frost was coming. Because once you frost on them, they get in a different segregation in your buildup. People don't want to eat them. They're basically all crushed for oil. So if we wait to harvest, and we've got a lot of peanuts that I don't know if we can get him or not. But if you have to wait and we have an early frost, we could have problems. So that, as far as the weather, we've kind of dealt with the weather issues to this point. But if we get in a situation that's a late harvest and we have an early frost, we could have a problem.
Okay. Well, is there anything else you want to mention? About to get rained on, I think. Okay. Well, thank you, Thomas, for allowing us to come out here and giving us a little explanation of peanuts, and we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody,
So these are some of the peanut companies that Thomas and I were talking about. If you guys are out, looking for peanuts, these are just a handful that I pulled. There are several out there for you to try. Like Thomas says, they go into lots of candy bars, of course, peanut butter, cocktail peanut butter, or cocktail peanuts, several different ways. And then Katie's going to touch on some recipes here in a little while. And next slide, please. If you are looking for some education resources on peanuts, whether you're a 4-H, FFA, ag teacher, reach out to Virginia Peanut Growers Association. They have lots of different resources. The National Peanut Board actually has, I think, some interactive resources. The American Peanut Council also has some. Virginia Agriculture in the Classroom, they have some of the harvesting videos as well, some that you can play in the classroom. And if you all are ever in Southeast Virginia and Isle of Wight, please reach out to me or some of my fellow agents in the surrounding counties. We'd be happy to take you out to a peanut farm, show you some equipment, or get you in touch with a peanut farmer. Be glad to help you in any way we can. And I think that's all for me. And my contact information is here. Feel free to email or call me. And I'm going to turn it over to Katie now for the peanut recipe.
Thank you so much. What I'm going to do is just take a few minutes and talk about, I'm a registered dietitian and I do community nutrition education. I'll talk about why, from a nutrition profile perspective, peanuts are just a really great protein to include in your diet. Also, as a dietitian, I get tons of questions about peanut allergies. Don't have time to get into too many details today, but I'll just talk about briefly what that is and some of the good news that has come out as far as treatment and prevention goes. And then I'll top it off with a little peanut soup recipe. So nutritionally, from a meal planning perspective, we consider peanuts to be part of the protein food group, and a serving of whole peanuts, whole shelled peanuts, is about 1/4 cup. For peanut butter, it is 2 tablespoons, and each of those servings is going to give you about 8 grams of protein, which is great. Now, nutritionally, if you just look at plain peanuts or plain peanut butter with nothing added to it, so just dry roasted peanuts, you'll see they've got lots of really good, healthy, heart-healthy fat. So the polyunsaturated fats. There is a little bit of saturated fat, but compared to some other nuts and other fatty products, it's pretty good. Naturally, there's no sodium occurring, so you won't have any sodium in your peanuts products unless it's added. And that same goes with added sugar. Obviously, there's no added sugar. So what I encourage people to do is when you're, like if you're going to buy peanuts or some sort of snacking nuts, if you can just take the unsalted plain version and compare it to whatever product you're looking at and just see if it makes sense for you and your family. Maybe so the product I'm comparing today with is just a creamy peanut butter. And you could see if you're looking at the ingredients, you can see that this product has a little bit of sugar added to it. They've added also some molasses for sweetener. The fully hydrogenated vegetable oil is added in there to help keep it from separating. So if you see, it's just going to be a more consistent product. There's also a little bit of salt in there. So, there are those added ingredients, which may or not be a deal breaker for you. If you compare it nutritionally, you'll see there's not a ton of those things. So there's just 130 milligrams of sodium. So for you and your family, that might not be a big deal. But if you're on a sodium restricted diet, that might be something to consider. And so I guess the takeaway for peanuts is that in their natural form, they are absolutely just a really wonderful, healthy food. Just be careful about what you add them to. Obviously, we all love peanuts in our dessert products and our chocolates. So you can certainly enjoy those in moderation. But don't forget about, your peanut butter sandwich and your peanut butter snacks. Definitely a good, easy, affordable, shelf-stable, healthy protein. And with that, we can move on to talk about some allergies. So I think we're all aware that peanut allergies have been on the rise lately in the last couple decades, and it's simply our immune systems are mistakenly identifying the protein in peanuts for something harmful, and that causes our immune system to overreact, and that's what the allergic reaction is. There's been a lot of debate over what's causing this increase, and I don't really have time to get into it today. But just to be aware that there are a range of symptoms with peanut allergies. Some of them can be kind of mild, just kind of itchy and scratchy throat. A couple mild symptoms that can just be alleviated by an antihistamine. But for a lot of people with peanut allergies, it can be more severe and actually involve anaphylaxis and require epinephrine or an EpiPen. And so that's very serious, as most people know. If you're having a serious peanut reaction, you've got to have that EpiPen and call 911, get to an ER as soon as possible. But the really good news about all of this, even in my lifetime, we've seen great progress in both the prevention and treatment fields. So we'll move on and talk about some prevention. Okay. So good news, in the last couple years, we have learned from especially looking at other cultures, particularly some studies out of Israel, where they give babies peanut products very young. They see dramatically lower rates of peanut allergies. So after a lot of clinical trials and research, the experts have changed their recommendations. We used to say to avoid peanuts to sort of give your immune system time to build up, but now we're saying do it early. So particularly infants who are at risk for peanut allergies, which would be a baby who might have eczema or maybe an egg allergy or both, that these kids especially, we want to get them introduced to peanuts at 4 to 6 months. Now, clearly, a whole peanut at that age is a choking risk, so you can't just give a kid a peanut, but there are many products out there these days that are a peanut flour or a peanut powder, which is just going to be a defatted peanut with the peanut protein. And that you can just put in really anything your kid is already eating. Kind of the beauty of this age, that 4 to 6 months, is usually when kids start introducing, or we start introducing new foods to kids, and we tend to call this the honeymoon phase. It's when they're very curious and interested in food, and they haven't quite figured out yet what they do and don't like, and they also haven't figured out that they can say no and not eat it at all. And so this handsome guy here is my nephew. And you can see they just gave them, give them all kinds of food. And so you don't have to do anything special. You can just put a little bit of peanut powder in whatever it is that they're eating, and you just need trace amounts. So it's not like you have to force feed this food to them. So it should be very low stress, easy going. And hopefully we'll see this next generation of kids really do better with peanuts. And if not, let's go to treatment. Yeah, we've got also really an exciting treatment has come out. It was just approved in January of 2020, but research has been going on for many years now. But this is oral immunotherapy. You might see it abbreviated as OIT. And this is simply where patients are consuming tiny amounts of peanut protein. And we're talking milligrams to grams, just very small amounts. And what they do is they have increasing doses over time. So start out with a tiny bit, have a little bit more every couple weeks or so. And the idea is that it's going to desensitize the immune system and help you build up to a maintenance dose. Now, the caveat here is it's always done by an allergist or an immunologist. It's not something you can do on your own at home. It'd be much too dangerous. But the outcomes have been really exciting. We've seen that there's a lower risk of allergic reaction from cross-contamination by about 95% of people who are successfully treated, which is not everyone. But just to be clear, what that means is that this treatment doesn't necessarily mean that you can go out and have peanut butter like a non-allergic person could, but when cross-contamination takes place, the likelihood of you having an anaphylactic reaction and having a serious life-threatening event, that goes way down. So for those of us, probably most of us have, if we don't have peanut allergies ourselves, we have a friend or family member who does, and it's a really exciting option for them. All right, and with that, so I wanted to choose something a little different today for a recipe. I think all of us are familiar with peanut butter, what a great snack it is, but I chose this recipe because I thought it'd be kind of interesting to share ideas for how you can, cook in something like a stew as opposed to a snack or a sandwich. So with that, we can start the video.
Welcome. My name is Katie Strong. I'm a registered dietitian and a Virginia Cooperative Extension agent for the Fairfax County office. And today I'm making a peanut stew, and this recipe is adapted from some of the more traditional versions of peanut stew that come out of different countries in Africa. I've adapted it today according to some of the ingredients that I can find at the grocery store more easily, as well as some of my family's nutritional needs. So let's get started. The ingredients you'll need for this recipe are a vegetable oil. I'm going to use some canola oil today. Your aromatic vegetables are going to be your onions, ginger, and garlic. We're going to have sweet potatoes, spinach, garbanzo beans or chickpeas, diced tomatoes, peanut butter, and our spices are cumin, curry powder, coriander, and red pepper. Now that the onions are soft and have a really nice browning to them, I'm going to go ahead and add my next ingredients. I'm going to add the ginger and garlic, as well as the spices.
Now, if your pan is a little bit dry at this point, go ahead and add a little bit of oil. We want these spices and the garlic and ginger to come in contact with a little bit of oil so that we can bloom the flavors. Now, I'm just gonna move these around and stir it up. I want it to cook for about a minute so it gets nice and aromatic. We finally get to the star of the show, our peanut butter. So this is not only nutritionally a really great choice because it's got wonderful high quality protein, it's really affordable, but I love that the peanut soup, the peanut butter in the peanut soup adds a really nice creamy texture to the broth.
Thanks, Katie. Did you have anything else to say about peanuts before we go to Q&A?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay. So I don't see any questions just yet in the Q&A, but if you have any that you've been holding on to, you can go ahead and type those in. We'll try to get those answered for you. I'll let you know in the meantime that our next session is going to be next Friday at 2 p.m. and we're going to be taking a little bit different approach. We're going to be talking about greenhouse ornamentals, and we'll be doing some flower arranging. So not talking about foods, but other pretty things you can add to your table. So Katie, this question is for you. Jalen wants to know, does your recipe freeze well? And if yes, should you add the spinach after thawing and reheating?
Yes. So I've never frozen it, but I think it's worth a try. But what you could do is chop it ahead of time. It's a good freezer meal, so you can chop everything ahead of time, throw it in the freezer, and then cook it. So either way, freeze it before, freeze it after. It's very versatile. Yeah.
Okay, great. And another question for you, Katie. Can you use another bean in place of garbanzo beans?
Absolutely. Yeah. Use whatever bean you like.
All right. And we have some questions for you, Livy. Livy, what is an optimal variety to grow in Richmond?
You could probably try some of the varieties that we grow down here, probably Bailey or Wynn's type of peanuts. You could reach out to your local extension office. I think the closest one to you would probably be the Dinwiddie office. So that would be Mike Parrish, and he could probably talk to you about some varieties that they grow in Dinwiddie. I think that's probably the closest office to Richmond that could help you out with that.
All right. And also, Livy, how many acres does the farm that you featured grow on?
They probably have, I don't know an exact number, but I'm probably guessing somewhere from like 500 to 700 acres plus the 200 cattle. So it's a pretty large generational farm.
Do you know how many acres that is in peanuts?
Oh, in peanuts, they probably have maybe 100 probably.
Okay. I am not seeing anything else in the Q&A box. So I'd like to thank Livy and Katie for pulling together the presentation today. I was sharing with them that when we first started planning for this series, I had my fingers crossed that we would be able to pull together a peanut session. So I learned a ton, and I hope you all did too. And I hope you guys can have some inspiration for your kitchen for the weekend and make some great peanut recipes. Have a great weekend, everyone.